Fox had a really bad week, y'all. First, they had the Jack Smith filing, which Judge Chutkan released. Then they ended the week with that incredibly strong jobs report that surpassed expectations. And they are trying everything they can to try to spin all this. They are completely spinning their wheels. I'm not sure that I've ever seen this network as panicked as they currently are. I'm going to take you through it all. My name is Brett Meiselas here at the MeidasTouch Network. Remember to hit subscribe. We are on our way to 3.5 million subscribers, but we can't get there without you. Okay, let's dive in to the latest Fox meltdown. We have to understand what the propaganda is that they are pumping out every day, because we have to understand why our country is so messed up by all this stuff. It's because Fox is constantly trying to make things up day in and day out. So first, let me show you Fox's initial reaction to the incredibly strong jobs report on Friday. At first, they said it's hard to put a negative spin on this. It's really good. Watch.
We are back with a Fox News alert. The September jobs report was just released, and it shows the U.S. added 254,000 jobs last month. That's significantly higher than economists expected. And the unemployment rate fell slightly, now at 4.1%. And this comes with the election 32 days away, and the economy remains the top issue.
Wow, it's pretty amazing. So those are really good numbers, very good numbers. So, you know, they'll be talking about that
better
in the
than
stump
expected.
today.
Yep.
And everybody on Fox seemed to be hoping for a bad jobs report. Weird thing to hope for, but you do you, Fox. But they couldn't deny this was a good report. Watch this.
So the September jobs report is out as of 90 minutes ago. Came in hotter than expected. Good number, high number, 254,000 jobs added. Unemployment ticked down to 4.1%. Lou Bazzani's chief market strategist, president of MDB Capital, with us here. And good morning to you.
Good to see you.
Before we get to Trump and Harris making their pitch this week, what do you make about the number?
I'm an optimistic guy, but I got to be honest. I thought there would be more red flags than at a communist parade in this report. And there's not a single one. And the reason I say that is because we had such a wide dispersion of what the expectations were. 70,000 on the low side, 220 on the high side, and we got 254. And there's not one data point in here that I can point to that's not good. You had 150,000 people come into the labor force, 430,000 jobs added, some of those in areas that are catch-up sectors from COVID, so healthcare, education. And then the one thing that really stands out to me is wage growth. It's slightly accelerated, and this is key for the Fed, because if inflation is still stubborn, you need to make sure that employees and everyday Americans can afford and absorb the price hikes. So
I'll stop you there.
But all week long, one of the things that they've been doing is every time there's been good news, like a good jobs report or other good news in the stock market, you name it, they cut to Larry Kudlow, who used to work in the Trump administration, and he starts talking about illegal immigrants. This is their move. They go, now let's check in with Larry Kudlow. And they go to him and they go like, Kamala Harris wants to kill you, and all the migrants are coming to take over your jobs. And this is their strategy, like every single day. So here you see Trump dismissing this jobs report, sitting there with Larry Kudlow, and Trump is pushing the same message that the illegal migrants are coming to take your jobs. Watch.
These are uncomfortable statistics. There's something wrong. There's something unbalanced about all these numbers and where the country's going.
Well, especially so since, as you see, and I guess you probably read one of the numbers where the illegal migrants that are coming into the country are getting the jobs. They're getting most of the jobs.
The guy has like one move. It's so pathetic. It's one move. Blame the migrants. Blame the migrants. Where have we heard this before throughout history? Donald Trump is evoking the most horrific moments of our past every single day on this campaign trail as he struggles to find his footing. But let's dig into that jobs report. Here was the front page of the Drudge Report, which, by the way, is a right-wing organization. They wrote, boom, job growth surges, plus 254,000 jobs. Unemployment rate falls to 4.1%. Stocks rip higher. Carl Quintanilla of CNBC jokingly wrote hashtag failing nation, hashtag nation in decline, mocking Donald Trump. And we can just look at the stats. This is raw data, right? 254,000 new jobs, 4.1% unemployment, wages rose 4%, and that's significantly above inflation. Treasury bond yields are up. Labor force participation is on the rise. This is why this group, Business Leaders for Harris, exists, and they're saying business leaders support Kamala Harris, and we've seen that be proven time and time again. At a certain point, Fox realized they were saying too many good things about this jobs report. I know we just got it. How can we bring this down? Okay. We got to put our propaganda spin on everything. So here, what they decided to do on Fox Business is they started to argue, well, if you take out all the job growth from the job report, then actually the job report looks bad. I mean, that's not how this works, but watch.
But leisure and hospitality up 78,000, Joni. Your reaction?
Yeah, I've been digging into the numbers, Maria, and I'm looking at this. And of course, that headline number is going to, be a positive sign. And maybe that's why we're seeing markets up. But when you dig into the data in this report, you can see that those jobs are really created and coming from healthcare and then leisure and hospitality. Those are the two big sectors. Almost 160,000 of those jobs created in September came from those sectors. And to Cheryl's point, the leisure and hospitality are lower paying jobs. So then when you start to look at, manufacturing lost 7,000 jobs. Though construction gained, it was only 25,000. So if you really take out those two sectors, this isn't a blockbuster report. The other sectors are still struggling. In fact, I was just looking at the temporary labor. We track that in this report. And again, lost almost 14,000 jobs in last month, which is concerning. Employers are still laying off temporaries. They always let temporary workers go before they bring permanent people onto their staff.
So I'm changing my tune on this, Joel Schulman. Okay, I'm changing my tune. I mean, look what we're looking at. We're looking at low-paying jobs, like Cheryl mentioned. We're looking at government jobs that Joni mentioned. I mean, these are the jobs that, okay, that's fine, job creation, but it's not the jobs that we want to see growing, Joel.
Yeah, it seems like that last line really convinced Maria Bartiromo over there. It's just the weirdest network. Then you have Jesse Waters, who is like low-rent Tucker Carlson. I mean, this guy, he's not a very bright guy, let's face it. And he's on there spouting his propaganda, which is just so heavy-handed. And here last night, he says that Obama campaigning for Kamala Harris, Barack Obama is going to be hitting the campaign trail for the vice president. He says that means her internal polling numbers are bad. Watch this.
But someone's going to be doing a lot of talking. That's Barack. Kamala Harris's internal poll numbers must be so bad. They're making the Messiah leave Hawaii to hit the trail for the home stretch.
President Obama, they are calling on him to go to Pittsburgh next week as they lean on his star power to turn out the vote, his star power among Democrats at least. And we have seen this to great effect in several last election cycles where...
Yeah, I'm sorry that no past presidents or vice presidents want to endorse Donald Trump or appear alongside him, but nice spin, Jesse. I don't think anybody's buying it. Thankfully, Fox News does have Jessica Tarlov. She is the one pro-democracy voice on the network, the only person on that network who provides any facts whatsoever. And she was saying that every accusation is a confession from the Republicans because they're trying to act like the Biden administration is taking funds from recovery efforts and putting them towards helping illegal immigrants. That's like their big push. It's a complete and total lie. So Jessica Tarlov on Fox yesterday, she's saying the only president who actually did take funds that were supposed to go to disaster relief and move them to dealing with the border was Donald Trump. Watch.
Relief. Marco Rubio didn't like something, so he said that it was fake. And the reality is, and I mentioned this yesterday on the 5, that every accusation is a confession from the Republicans. You know, the only president who actually did take funds that were supposed to go to disaster relief and move them to dealing with the border, that was Donald Trump.
It was Defense
he
Department
took $155 million out of the FEMA budget to do that. That should have gone to hurricane relief.
A couple of things.
And after that segment, Jessica Tarlov took to social media and she wrote, in 2019, Trump took $271 million from the Department of Homeland Security and $155 million from the disaster fund. And let's pull up this article from the Washington Post. They did a great fact check here where they say, no, Biden did not take FEMA relief money to use on migrants. But guess what? Trump did. The Washington Post says Donald Trump falsely accuses President Biden of redirecting disaster funds, a budget maneuver Trump himself approved in 2019. Whoops. And do you remember how Donald Trump handled these hurricane situations? I mean, in addition to politicizing everything and deciding if he was going to help when a disaster struck, depending on if the people who it was affecting voted for him or not, which is like an impeachable offense to begin with, just absolutely grotesque. He said things like this, and the Kamala Harris campaign pointed this out. He said things like, "This is a tough hurricane, one of the wettest we've seen from the standpoint of water. Watch."
A great job in helping with Florence. This is a tough hurricane, one of the wettest we've ever seen from the standpoint of water. Rarely have we had an experience.
Sometimes I wonder, do people not remember how horrific Donald Trump was as president? Every single day, chaos. Every single crisis that went to him, he was completely failed at. I mean, do you remember the storm that hit the southern, eastern coast of the United States when Donald Trump took out a Sharpie marker because he kept telling people it was going to hit Alabama, but it wasn't going to hit Alabama, and the weather agencies had to come out and say Donald Trump is making things up. So instead of just admitting Donald Trump was wrong, Trump brought out that big map during his press conference, and he put a black circle around Alabama on the map, on the storm path, to try to act like he was right. And it was just the sickest stuff, like day in and day out. He was the single worst president, like the worst person that you want in any crisis. But, something that makes me optimistic is seeing the ballot returns that are happening, seeing the enthusiasm out there. I mean, you see the enthusiasm at these Vice President Kamala Harris rallies. And here's an update for Detroit. Detroit has a 20% return rate with 20% votes already being cast from those mail-in and absentee ballots. That is absolutely stunning, and this is growing at such a rapid pace. People are fired up, people are voting, and these are deep Democratic areas that are voting in large numbers right now, ideally building this blue firewall across the country in states like Detroit, in states like Pennsylvania, and it is so great to see. One of the tactics that Fox uses is they deceptively edit clips. So President Biden spoke at the press conference yesterday at the White House press briefing, and I want to show you what they did. So we'll show you the video that Jesse Waters used of Biden, and then we'll show the actual full answer that Biden gave. You'll see how Jesse Waters cut the clip for his audience so they couldn't actually hear what President Biden said.
Do you have confidence that it will be a free and fair election and that it will be peaceful?
I'm confident it'll be free and fair. I don't know whether it'll be peaceful.
Can you talk about how you're vice president?
I'm confident it'll be free and fair. I don't know whether it'll be peaceful. The things that Trump has said and the things that he said last time out when he didn't like the outcome of the election were very dangerous. If you notice, I noticed that the vice presidential Republican candidate did not say he'd accept the outcome of the election. They haven't even accepted the outcome of the last election. So I'm concerned about what they're going to do.
Yeah, I mean, that's not news. That's straight propaganda. It's straight fascist propaganda to prop up Donald Trump. They are an arm of the Trump campaign, and it is grotesque to watch. But one of the other things I like to see are these incredible surrogates with the Kamala Harris campaign getting out there and spreading the message. Somebody who's been fantastic about this has been Mark Cuban. And Mark Cuban was speaking about how Kamala Harris brings the country together and why that is good for the business community. Check this out.
And talking to her and talking to her team, it's not like she brings up, well, this is the Democratic Party way, or this is what the party feels. It's the exact opposite. She talks about her values. She talks about bringing the country together. She talks about the fact that, you have to come to the center if you're going to bring the country together. And I think that's what she's done. And I think that's great for all business people because, when we're a divided country, it truly is bad for business because we all have to deal with the cultures within our organization. And we have to walk that fine line where you have people who have different political views and it creates uncertainty at work. And that's just not good for any organization. So I think, at a fundamental basis, the fact that she's open, she's caring, she's direct, she's ethical, she's honest. Those are things that bring people together.
And we have two distinct messages right now, right? We have the Kamala Harris campaign saying, we are not going back. We are not going back. On the other hand, we have Donald Trump say, make America great again. That's a message looking into the past. And so people have often wondered, when was America great? Could he answer this question, Donald Trump? We want to know, when do you think America was great? Well, I think we're starting to get our answer because Donald Trump was on Fox. He said our country was the richest when we used tariffs, like the tariffs we put on in 1932. You know, during the Great Depression. Watch.
But you can stop wars with tariffs. The word tariff, if properly used, not stupidly used, but we used them, and that was when our country was the richest. And, you know, a lot of people say, well, but you had the Depression in Well, the tariffs were put on in 1932.
Oh, but if that wasn't back to the past enough, Donald Trump also suggested another era that he wants to go back to. You're not even going to believe this. I'm being serious. The 1880s and the 1890s. Donald Trump announced that he plans to take America back to the 1880s and the 1890s by imposing a 20% tax on all imported goods, including food, clothes, cell phones, and more. Watch this clip.
Our country was the richest when we were doing tariffs. That was the richest. This was in the 1880s and 90s. We were, you know, if you go back to the dates and you look, our country was so rich, we didn't know what to do with all the money we had. They had committees, the Great Tariff Committee of 1887. This was a committee that was set up to, like, where do you give all this? What do you do with all the money?
You really can't make this stuff up, folks, but, you know, you see Fox just spitting out. You see them completely sputtering. You see Donald Trump doing the same. They have no coherent message. They don't know how to handle the fact that things are actually going quite well and Americans are actually feeling quite good about things. So they are ramping their propaganda up to new levels. It is disgraceful, but it reeks of desperation. The good thing is, we here at the MeidasTouch Network, we actually reach far more people, at least on digital, than Fox does. Our numbers are better than them, and that's because you share these videos. That's because you like these videos, you comment on these videos, you subscribe to this channel. So thank you so much. By the way, we were the #1 channel on all of YouTube in September. The #1 on all of YouTube, not just news channels, of every channel in terms of video views and engagement and comments. And that's because of you. That's because of your support. So let's keep that going. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll see you soon.
Love this video? Make sure you stay up to date on the latest breaking news and all things Meidas by signing up to the MeidasTouch newsletter at MeidasTouch.com/newsletter.